you gave John Masuda to us, to this family. All those nights when he was not home. We say thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. Thank you for releasing John to us. You know, we may not always know what the future holds or brings. But guess what? We know who holds the future. And we can rest assured that the Lord is with us. So I just want to leave these words with you, to the two of you, and your children, and your little grandbaby. Numbers 6:24. That the Lord will continue to bless you, John, Sylvia, your children, your grandbaby. The Lord will continue to keep you. The Lord will make his face shine upon you, even during this season. That the Lord will continue to be gracious to you. And we pray that the Lord will turn his face toward you. When the Lord turns his face toward you, you can go to anyone. And that's our prayer. That the Lord will give you peace. His peace that transcends all understanding. The reason I specifically thank Sylvia is Sylvia has been special to me. Before I lost my dad, I don't know, Sylvia, if you remember this, I shared that fear with Sylvia without even knowing her. I just knew her as John Masuda's wife. And Sylvia prayed with me and encouraged me. And when I lost my dad, I called John and I said, John, I don't want to talk to you. I want Sylvia's phone number. I was going through a deep valley. I'm still depressed over my dad's passing. And I called Sylvia. And Sylvia really encouraged me. So she's very special to me. I haven't known you for too long, but for the very short period of time that the Lord has allowed our paths to cross during a very sad moment in my life, you blessed me. When I didn't understand why my dad had to go, you're the only person, believe it or not, that made sense out of what was going on. So thank you, Sylvia. Continue to be a blessing in that calling that the Lord has called you to do. That ministry is a calling. Not too many people can minister to people at that point in their lives when they've lost loved one. You are called to do that. May the Lord bless and continue to bless the works of your hands. Thank you.
Last week, Vicki said we're having a celebration for John and Sylvia on Wednesday night, and instead of flying back, I wanted to make sure I could be here to just thank you for what a privilege it's been to be your partner. And when I was asked to say a few remarks, I said, okay, well, what is it that comes to mind when I think about John? And I go right to our core values. That fundamentally, it's not just the acronym Christ, but it's the way you live those things out. And I was reminded of it even earlier tonight. I came in to greet Sylvia, and we're remembering the first time that John was traveling to become the senior vice president, or coming across country to be the president, I guess, when you were in the middle of that storm. The storm of the century, one of these things that are coming through, and you're leaving California because of your commitment to the poor to be here. And for those of you that have not seen this picture on Sylvia's phone that shows the view when they're taking their walks on the Pacific Ocean, to come to Chicago in the middle of winter is either insane, is one option, or a calling and a commitment to the poor. And it's just absolutely the first part of the values. Now, I didn't have a lot of chance to work with John when he was competing with Greg. I do a lot with Greg, but when John came to Philadelphia one of the first times in the senior vice president role, I think, we had a dinner event or a reception event. And a lot of the ways that I think you judge, where I tend to judge character, is how are people behaving when they're not in the spotlight? And in this particular event, Greg and I do things on the cheap. We always make sure that we're doing things for as low a budget as possible. The building we were in burned down a little bit later. That's a side point. But the humility of this is who was there up front with us, setting up all of the places for the people at dinner, and after everybody that was left, who was the person there making sure that we had picked up everything and left the place in good order? But John, leading with humility. In the area of respect, Vijay is here, so I don't have to dwell on that some of your predecessors in that president's role struggled with how do they work in a joint network. And I can just tell you what a privilege it was always to know that whenever we were talking about what do we do for the good of the poor clients that we're seeking to serve, you had such an amount of respect of saying, what can I do? How do I work together as a partner in this organization? And you just embodied the word respect. Integrity, I don't think I need to dwell on. It is the core, it's the anchor, it's the starting point of who John is. And stewardship, we've heard it all night. The way he uses his time, the way he uses his gifts, the way he encourages all of us. Those are all stewardship gifts. It's not just about money, but it's about releasing others to accomplish what they can do. And transformation. I don't think I was ever in a meeting with John that we didn't start with prayer, end with prayer, make sure that we knew who we were serving and why we were there. So the Christ acronym is just not only our Savior, but it embodies who John has been. And I thought, as I end just these few remarks here, that the life verse that I've chosen is the one I would share with you tonight. It's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I'm sure most of you know it, but it's trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. So as you depart from us in this particular part of your career, I know that He will direct your steps, and that whatever He has for you, you will be a blessing to the others that you have a chance to serve. So Godspeed.
Amen.
So is there anyone else who wanted to say a couple things, John?
I have been listening to this outpouring of affection and admiration for John, and it's time for rebuttal. I would like to share an experience experience I had with John, when John was still the regional vice president for the West Coast, I was out in Los Angeles doing donor visits, and John and I had been traveling, and we were traveling on the LA Expressway at 4 miles an hour. And the position of Senior Vice President for Resource Development had become open. And as we're driving along the expressway, I looked at John and I said, John, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think you'd be really good at that job. And I really would think and ask you to prayerfully consider applying for the job. John says, no, I would never apply for the job because I would never ever leave Southern California to go to Chicago, never ask my wife to leave. I get on a plane and I go back to Chicago, and the next day John is named as a senior VP. So John, I gotta tell you, my first thought was, I've just started working for the guy and already he's lying to me.
Thank you, John.
I'm going to use this because I definitely need it. John, I just wanted to say a short thank you. I joined Opportunity in July 2011, and in the following 3 months discovered that I didn't join the organisation that I thought I joined, and there was a lot of very different things in the operation of the field, in the fundraising team. Everything changed, and it was quite a change. And then you stepped in and took the role. And I remember when I first joined Opportunity, I really had this burden that part of our need as an organisation was to put the unity back in Opportunity. In the last 5 levels of unity. And I think when you took on that role, you really brought something to the organisation that created a sense of unity that has given us a foothold to move to where we're moving now. And so I really want to say thank you for that. And the other thing that I want to say thank you for, and we're going through this process now, you're going through the whole sort of budget process and I'm trying to work out what you're doing. And at the beginning of January in 2012, had a whole bunch of people from around the world turn up to Oxford, including John and Sylvia, and Julie says hi, by the way. And we were going through a conversation about strategy and budget and what we were going to do, and we talked about transformation. And honestly, there was a bunch of people in the room who were kind of, you know, we got up and did a presentation, and there was a bunch of people who were, I'm not really sure that I agree with this approach, and maybe we shouldn't put money into that at all. And
And so I said, come on to San Diego, let's have lunch together. And we had this wonderful lunch. But I thought to myself, why is this man so gifted, so qualified, wanting to come and work for us? I couldn't figure it out. Because I thought, he's so far above where we were. But I'm not an athlete, as most of you would know, especially after bowling on Monday. But I know enough to know that if you want to get better, you play up. And you really play with somebody that's better than you, and you will get better. And after I had lunch with John, I said to Mark and to Chris, we have to hire this guy. Even if we have to bribe him, we have to hire him. He's so good. And sure enough, John humbly came and worked for us as an RD for a year and ran all over LA every day, packed it in, meeting with people, and just shone, you were shining like the top of the Chrysler Building. I mean, you were just a star, and it was beautiful to watch, but with all humility, because it was a step down, really, for you, and it was so clear. And during the course of that time, John and I traveled together, and I remember traveling to Santa Barbara one time with him, running up there to have meetings, and John said to me, you lead a crazy life. And he said, you are so busy. Do you ever stop? And I remember thinking, oh, shoot, we've hired the wrong person. But you know what? You were right. And it took me a long time to get some soul space. And that was a moment, a crossroads for me. And there were many times you spoke into my life. And I thank you for that. Because with humility and grace, you always showed up. And it gave us a chance to play up. So thank you, John, very much.
I think I'm last but not least.
Oh, no, we got, okay, anyways, John. Well, Sylvia, I have to tell you a story, because I had 3 dreams about John in December. I am Catholic, and so I have to get this. Will you pray for me? Sorry. But in every dream, I did have 3 dreams about you in December. Well, they were kind of nightmares. All these things going on. You know, but John, in every dream, John had my back. I mean, like, I woke up, I remember one night I woke up in this terror. And then I just, like, you know what, I mean, it was one of those dreams that was so vivid and so real. And I just remember, everything's going to be okay because John has my back. And, I mean, I just felt that about you. You know, our trip to Colombia and this last year has been just a gift that you know, always and you know, all that you gave up, and all you gave up, Sylvia, I remember one of our first meetings when you came here, and you did have dark chocolate, I remember. Dark chocolate is better than milk chocolate, so eat that. Of course, I still eat milk chocolate and French fries. But it was like, I thought you were really crazy to all the things that you gave up, but what a gift you gave to us as our time with John. And, you know, like, this is just...
What you don't understand is, when I saw the job description, and I wrote this, there's no way
Well, John, I think you know how much I just love getting up and standing in front of people, but I would never miss this opportunity to just thank you for your amazing sacrificial service, and for you, Sylvia, for letting us have him and enjoying his amazing leadership. I also had the privilege of being originally a colleague with John. We were both RDs at the same time, and he was my boss, which was just an amazing, empowering experience. I mean, he's just the kind of person that he makes you want to really do the best possible thing that you possibly can. And he makes you want to be the servant leader that he is. I mean, he is absolutely, truly the best example of a servant leader I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't know you were going to be here tonight, BJ, but I always remember what you always say about, you know, doing what's required. And I mean, there's no question in my mind that John stepped up and did what was required. I mean, he took the reins, he took, charge of the organization when we needed that, and I think we all thank you for that amazing sacrifice. And to both of you, Sylvia, again, like everyone has said, we really appreciate your letting us, have this wonderful man as our leader. So I'm going to miss you as a teammate. I'm sure we're going to remain friends, and I'm going to definitely, always try to live up to the amazing example that you set. I think other people have said this, I don't want to repeat it, but I think you really brought an amazing focus to all of us to make sure that we're really trying to sincerely live up to our core values, and I love that. I love the fact that you really brought that to the fore and really highlighted that. So I wish you both the very best of luck. I'm sure God is going to use you in amazing ways, and He's going to continue to help, find your path. And I just wanted you to know, when you ever come to Arizona, you have a standing invitation to come, and I will personally drive you back down to E.G.'s, and we will enjoy a wonderful meal at E.G.'s. This is a funny story. No one probably really gets this, but E.G.'s is this horrible little hole-in-the-wall place. If you've ever been to Tucson, it's this little place where you get these icy cold drinks and these cheesy little Italian grinders. And I really didn't know John that well when I took him down there. I didn't realize what an incredible foodie he was. And I took him to this place, which he absolutely, I'm sure, hated. But anyways, you have a standing invitation to come to E.G.'s whenever you'd like to come to Arizona. So we're going to miss you. Thank you very much.
I didn't know that I would be invited to come tonight, so I came anyway. And I wrote John a letter before I knew that I was going to get to come, so I'd like to just read John the letter that I wrote to him. Dear John, we know that God is faithful in raising up leaders to accomplish His will, leaders who will serve with integrity and with skill. Psalm 78, 70-72. God chose David, His servant, to be the shepherd of His people, and David shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands, he led them. God chose you to serve as interim CEO and shepherd Opportunity International United States at a time when humility and grace, along with courage, strength, and integrity, were required to lead us through a time of change. You accepted the responsibility of this role in addition to your Senior Vice President of Resource Development responsibilities, and you executed both roles without regard for personal sacrifice. We thank God for you, for your faithful service to Him, and for your joy in serving His beloved poor. In deep appreciation. Thank you.
I'm just going to say one more thing, John. I actually think of you every day. And I'm going to tell you why. But first, I just want to echo what everybody said. You're selfless, sacrificial, and a servant leader. And I have loved working for you. And I have a special memory. I have many special memories. One of them was, well, thanks to Shar, we were able to do our training in Malibu. And of course, we were in Peter's home, and Michelle and I quickly ran into Peter and Monique's bedroom and set our stuff down. And you were so incredible, running around and getting everything organized. And I remember we were looking out and seeing the Pacific Ocean, and she said, it doesn't get better than this. Here we are, suffering for the poor. In Malibu, and John, who never bothers us, who doesn't call us, who lets us just go and perform. And whenever, you always said, whenever you need me, just call. But you were just an incredible, incredible manager. Now, the reason why I think about you every day is I have never had a boss who has had such an impact on me spiritually. And I remember that book you gave us, signed by Richard Foster, that you gave the whole team. And it sits on my table where I have my devotions. And I think of you, and I think about how you have modeled Christian values, and yet an incredible dedication to excellence. So thank you for being that impact in my life.
All right, anybody else?
say one quick thing. And before the night ends, I just have to express my heart of gratitude to you, John, for all the things that were said tonight. But one thing I wish to add is that I had personal trials in a tough year and the year before. And yet, with all the demands on your time and the pressures and responsibilities of your position as CEO, you made it a point to check in with me, ask me how it's going, and to pray. And you know, a lot of people say they will pray for you, and they may pray for you, and then they forget you, because right with all their busy lives. And yet, John not only prayed, but followed up and prayed and followed up and prayed. And even tonight, the first words out of his mouth when he saw me was he was asking how it was going. So that says it all for me as far as your Christ matters, John. I just wanted to make sure I gave you my heartful gratitude for that.
Oh, one more.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for first making me the pastor.
You're ordained.
Yeah, I've been so blessed to have John in the office. I'm one of the early birds, and all the time, John is one of the people I meet. Sometimes he comes before me, or sometimes I come before him. And as an African, I love someone who cares about everything about me. And John is one of them. When he comes by my desk, he will ask about my family. And it means so much to me. He asks about how your kids doing, how's your life doing. It means so much to me. And I'm very, very thankful for that. It's a style of leadership that myself I like. When I was a manager, I used to care about my staff and everything about them. So when you did that to me, it meant so much to me. I saw that you didn't only care about the work I was doing, but you also cared about those who are with me back home. And I'm so thankful, and I miss you so much for that. Thank you so much.
All right, anybody else? All right, I told them I get close, so that's why I get this privilege. But John and I were hired at the same time, went through orientation together, and I remember sitting there at the Oak Brook office and meeting him and learning a little bit about him, and then of course he was able to work with us together, and that was just wonderful. The thing that for me that God has been teaching me over the years is that what Jesus said is true. And when he says all of the law and the prophets can be summed up in these two commands, it's true. Love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. So there's really three things in there. Love God, love yourself properly so you can love others. And you can really weigh everything in life against that. If you need to ask if it's right or it's wrong, you don't need a lot of laws. You don't need anything except that. And John, that's one thing that I have learned about you is when you look at that, love God, love others, love yourself. But sometimes we forget or aren't exactly sure how to define love. And so I go to 1 Corinthians 13, and that's the best definition. And I'd just like to read that as the way that John acts. John is patient. John is kind. John does not envy. John does not boast. John is not proud. John does not dishonor others. John is not self-seeking. John is not easily angered. John keeps no record of wrongs. John does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. John always protects, always trusts, always hopes. John always perseveres.